pushing people over.
Oh, okay. Okay. So the other one's where you're going to, Jim?
Yeah, I'm gonna hang up myself for 45 minutes.
Hey, can you leave deep fake Jim in?
How do you know I'm really real right now?
It could be your brother.
This is true, or a deep fake.
That's true. All right, let's kick it off. So Jim, we'll go with let's start with the K365 update, and then we'll let people think about some wins of the week they had. Did you have any wins, by the way?
I got a win.
Yeah,
Oh,
go.
nice. Eric is here.
Yeah, so we've got a client that uses Box all the time, and I
Okay.
guess there was a giant phishing campaign going out towards that company, and SaaS Alerts lit up, and we were able to at least monitor it and see what was going on and find out if there was any issues or not.
Nice.
What was the result, Eric?
I have to talk to my security guys. I wasn't directly involved in it, but we were able to we were able to determine that it was more of a phishing attempt than anything, that there was no breach involved or anything like that. But we were able to at least see that was going on and identify the users that were trying to follow those phishing emails, and it was a good result.
That's awesome. And correct me if I'm wrong, you don't give your clients a choice about SaaS Alerts. They get it, correct?
Yeah.
Baked in. Awesome.
So we
All
have
right.
one.
Oh, awesome, Gary.
Yeah. 2 days ago, one of our best clients, a nonprofit in the area, I got an email while I was on a call for something mid-morning. Hey, can you check out our proposal, or some generic thing with a PDF link or whatever? Looks very out of character because I never conversed with her about this kind of stuff. Fired back an email. This doesn't look real. There's something going on. And in parallel, a few minutes later, we did get the alerts in, and one of my guys got on it pretty quickly. So her account was involved in a compromise. She did get a man-in-the-middle type attack an hour or so earlier. And it appears that although he didn't respond, or the threat actor didn't respond to me, other people emailed her and said, hey, something doesn't look right. And the threat actor quickly responded, oh, yep, no, it's all good. I just need you to take a look at it for me. And some other people did click on the link. We got her squared away. It looks like it was just purely phishing, no other malicious activity, if that's not malicious enough, but we've had much worse. But this woman, who's very social and she loves us, sent us a glowing thank you, and proactively went out to Google and put a similar note out on our Google review about the job that we did and the responsiveness and professionalism. I don't know how she thinks that we're professional, but we pulled the wool over her eyes. But good news is we contained it.
So now,
That's
Gary,
awesome.
you get to follow up with all her other contacts who clicked on the email and tell them you can fix them up too.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So
just curious, Gary, what kind of a nonprofit is it?
They do they've got shelters and like day facilities for underprivileged around Providence.
Okay.
So they've got like learning rooms and all sorts of facilities. I forget now. I think they've got 8 or 10 houses or facilities around there where people come in and do some of their stuff.
Okay. Just last thing I'll say is this recommendation. Typically, organizations like that have wealthy board donors and stuff like that.
No, they're very they serve the very underprivileged around the south side of Providence, which is not a great area.
Yeah, no. I'm saying on their board. On their
Oh,
board.
on their board. Oh, I'm not actually. You know what? I'm not actually. I'm not aware of who's on their board at all. I'm not sure.
Right, that's what
I
I'm saying.
probably should be. It's a good
Take a
point.
look into that and see how you could leverage that with their
Yeah, it's a
executive.
great idea.
I'm leaving, Jim. That's my George Sanda moment for the day.
Boom, drop the mic, Andrew.
See ya. All right.
Hey, listen, it's his one good suggestion for the month. It's okay. He's bound to
Yeah.
have one.
Ooh,
One, maybe a
one for
half.
the month.
Yeah. That's
All right.
it. Yeah.
What else
But
do we got?
that's a great win. It's
It is.
awesome. Especially how you love it when your customers really go the extra mile to make sure everyone knows what a great job you're doing. Because it's,
Well, hey, listen, it's much better than the breach that we had 2 weeks ago for a different kind, nothing to do with 365.
yeah.
SentinelOne did not do its job.
Oh,
Let's put it that way.
so,
Wow.
sorry about that.
Okay.
Yep, me too. But there was some good that came out of it in terms of our relationship, but we're into it for 75 hours or thereabouts right now, rebuilding their environment, rebuilding their server environment and restoring it. But yeah, so
Wow.
that's a whole different problem.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I'm curious if you have any insights as to how SentinelOne, you expected it to have been able to handle it, but it didn't. Just
That's the call that I'm having in about an hour.
Okay.
So part of it turns out that when we moved SentinelOne from ConnectWise to PAX8 a year ago, it appears that there were some settings that needed to be configured that we weren't alerted to, having to do with notifications. So that's the call I'm having with PAX8 when we get off here today, because as you might expect, I'm a little bit perturbed. SentinelOne did fire on certain activities, but it did not contain them. It did allow for lateral spread in a major way. Every device had SentinelOne. It fired on some of the ones that were cryptoed, but not all. We could see some attempts to do lateral movement that were blocked, but in all, 5 or 6 of their 7 servers were cryptoed.
Wow.
wow.
And the only reason the second DC in their data center wasn't because the VHD file was on the D drive and not the C drive. They didn't bother, excuse me, they cryptoed the D drive, not the C drive. The VHD happened to be on the wrong volume on that guest, and that predated us. That was from their prior MSP.
Did you have a SOC monitoring your SentinelOne?
Well, that's the notifications that weren't set up. But yeah, the answer is we've been paying for it for a year. So that's why I'm very upset with PAX8 about that.
Painful.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Now the good news is the client doesn't know that part of it.
Yeah. Well,
So be it.
Gary, thanks for sharing. Really appreciate it. Glad we were able to help you with that win of the week.
Yeah.
The call before this, I had with a journalist media interview in the UK, and they were talking about, hey, 2024 seemed like it was a really busy year in cyber. Do you anticipate 25 being as busy or busier? I said, absolutely busier. And specifically around user attacks and application attacks. And as Adam just mentioned in the chat there, for you and other, Gary, for you and other folks using S1, we'll have that from a learning standpoint integrated into SaaS Alerts soon.
Great. Yeah, but in this case, it wouldn't. Well,
No, not in this case because that's
it
on them.
wouldn't have helped. Yeah.
Right. But
yeah,
Just
and
one more thing.
we're not sure. Oh, by the way, the other part of it, word for the wise, and we weren't managing the firewall at this point. Fortunately, we believe that the threat actor penetrated the Fortinet flaw that's been out there for a while.
Mm.
Because they did establish a VPN into their environment. So we believe that that's how they got in, and it wasn't, in this case, an email compromise or something like that. They were able to take over or hack into the on-site tech's admin account.
So
So
Hey, Andrew, I just gotta take off real quick, so I don't want to disrupt this thing. Just for my piece before I go, and I hate to miss the rest of this call in next week because this is my favorite call of the week. Uh, just from an update standpoint, we're now over 1,300 MSPs on Kaseya 365 user, which obviously is
wow.
includes SaaS Alerts. So it's been and the adoption on SaaS Alerts has been massive in the last month. So it's all exciting.
Great job.
Have a great rest of the call. Thanks, everybody.
Hope you enjoy your other call better. Bye.
I guarantee I
You
won't.
won't.
Guarantee I won't.
Great seeing you.
So, hey, Gary, I just got one more question if I could or two.
Of course.
So you're not managing the firewall.
No, so we are now. So
Oh.
the backstory is when we took over this company early in the year, they were co-hosted with one of the other MSPs in the area. So some of their servers were in their data center. And for several reasons, we've been trying to get them out of the data center to fully sever ties with the former MSP. The owner, it was just never a good time for him, although that was agreed upon when we started. So as a result, we weren't managing the firewalls because they were still with the former MSP. They had a handful of servers in their private cloud. So as a result of the event, and I said, the silver lining for us is during the restoration process, I said to the owner, we're not going to work with them to restore in the data center. I want to pull that equipment, just run it in-house. There's no reason to have it in the data center. They want to move it to Azure, but we can do that separately. So as of that day, we severed the VPN, pulled the equipment, restored the servers on-prem, and we are now managing the firewall and have it updated and locked down.
Okay. All right. And just lastly, are you doing like, do you have, is as part of your offering, like continuous vulnerability scanning?
Not for that part of the package.
Okay. Just word to the wise, and you may or may not know this. I don't know if Fortinet's in your stack, but
Yes.
They are typically on average now once a quarter to every 6 months having a 9.8 to 10 vulnerability.
Yep. Yeah, we watch it. We just went through over the last couple of weeks because there was one week or two ago to make sure everybody was up to the protected versions. And we brought some people from the older revisions that were still protected, but everybody's now on whatever that current version is.
Okay.
But
Cool.
thank you.
Yeah, of course. Okay. Any other wins? Let's hope we got a lot more wins. That was great so far. Anyone else? No, did we get Amy with us yet? I'm just wondering, and Chip, just because I know we're hovering still at 42. Sometimes people are in the waiting room, so I don't know. I'm assuming she's checking that type of thing. If you could, I don't know if you could ping her internally or not.
I can ping her internally, but it looks like Anthony's actually actively in touch with her.
There's a couple of us who are co-hosts and keeping an eye on that. Thanks
Okay.
for checking though, Andrew. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. All right. All right, fantastic. So let's move on then to, is Miss Amanda with us?
I am.
All right, I'll stop sharing Amanda. So we got you, and then we've got Adam with some back-to-back response stuff.
Right. So mine is directly in Respond. Hopefully you guys can see my screen right now.
You
We
can.
can.
All right. So when you're creating a new rule, you have your top section, which is your trigger. Once you've identified what you're looking for, you have your bottom section, which is your response. So on the third tab, over the last year or so, we've added SMS and mobile application as your alert notifications. We are now going to offer email as your notification. This should be on production within the next day or two. So Friday or Monday, this is coming. So not there yet, but will be there shortly. So again, you have to check off that you're willing to do this. Once you check that checkbox, the add button is enabled. Once you click the add button, you would type in any email address. It does not need to be a SaaS Alerts user account. So it just has to be in the correct format, blah@.com or .net and it'll use that email address and send alerts whenever the rule is triggered. And then, yeah.
Please ask a question. Is this more for like co-managed environments versus somebody triggering it into their PSA?
Exactly. So this is if you want to make someone aware that maybe never ever logs into a SaaS Alerts instance, that this is happening, and or if you want them to somehow trigger the approval of taking the remediation action, they will get the email saying, you know, this needs to be manually remediated, and they can then give their approval. So if you need to keep somebody updated on a very specific alert, this is a way to clue them in whenever something's happening.
Very cool. Can I ask one last question about that?
Of course.
Will that also, is it simultaneously that alert also getting triggered into the PSA for documentation's sake?
It absolutely depends on the configuration. So if I were to scroll back over to the Actions tab and the Configuration tab in here, you can see you have a couple of options in here of what you want it to do, and you can have it actually go to the PSA or not go to the PSA, depending upon what configuration you've done, Andrew. So if you have it set up to also go to the PSA, then yes, it would be simultaneous. At the very least, it's simultaneous with the event that is logged when the rule is triggered with inside a SaaS alert. So you'd have the event being logged as well as the email being sent.
Okay, gotcha. Very cool.
Any other questions? All right, so I just have one. I was gonna say I have one more update, but go ahead, Enrique.
Sorry, Amanda. So are we going to be able to set what, I didn't see, is it just critical, or can we set what type of levels you want to alert
So
on?
it's just on the respond rule configuration. So
Okay.
each individual rule, no matter what that setting is, whether you've made it critical or low, it doesn't matter. If you want someone to get an email whenever that rule is triggered, you add that email address to that rule configuration. So it's irregardless of the configuration of the severity.
So what I get today via text on respond, it's going to be option
Correct.
email as well. Perfect. Thank you.
Correct.
You got another hand up there, Amanda.
Who do I have?
Andy,
It's Andy.
may I ask a question?
Andy.
Yeah.
Amanda, I'm thinking about this from a evaluation or testing or proving of a customer, you know, as a pre-marketing or pre-sale activity. Can we add a tag so that this rule would be applied to use email to notify them? Or can we, do we have to create a whole separate set of rules for those that we don't want to incorporate into our normal processes, but would want to share or advise?
Yeah, in that case, what you're talking about, you would have to create a separate rule because it's at the rule configuration that you're adding the email address. So if you don't want that to be, you know, in the same pool as that alert happening for all of your regular customers, you would have to create a separate one.
Okay, I guess I'm saying, hey, it would be awesome to start to have some logic around the different types, have rules be the have different actions based on the type of customer.
Gotcha.
I hear you.
Yep. All right. Any other questions?
Just a quick note from me. I want to give a shout out to Corey from Solutions Granted, and you saw Zach cheering in the channel.
Yeah.
Corey asked for this feature a long time ago, and to his credit, specifically said, listen, I don't ask for features that are just for us. I ask features that are good for the community. And then having spoken to many MSPs along the way, when we talk about this feature, they all echo Corey's sentiment. So thank you, Corey. Zach, please thank Corey for us, for helping get this out.
All right. Anybody else on that topic? All right, so I have one more update quickly that wasn't on the slides, Andrew. We have a new event that'll be coming out again in the next day or so. It is called an IAM event for Impossible Travel. It is specific to the MS Defender product, and they already have something where they have determined the logic for impossible travel. And so we are taking that alert from them and ingesting that and then showing it for you. So that alert will also be on production in the next day or two.
Very cool.
Andy. predictably.
Did Andy
And
have-
my question is, around with MS Defender, how will this integrate across EDR, or would there be any way to bring that in as a behavioral thing as well, so that we could begin to track it there?
Right now, it's just the event that we're ingesting from Microsoft Defender. Any
Got it.
further integration, I'd have to defer to Adam, as Defender's kind of his product.
Yeah, short answer, Andy, is right now we are servicing alerts for Defender. We're not doing really anything else beyond that. So step one is get the alerts, and then we can start adding logic and behavioral stuff around them.
Awesome. Amanda,
All right.
yeah, go ahead. Please
Yeah, I was
continue.
gonna say, so that's it from me, Andrew, unless there's more questions.
All right. Anything else from Miss Amanda? All right, Adam.
Cool. All right, I've got exciting things as well. I feel like it's the first time in a while I've been able to show you all cool things. So let me share. Hopefully that's the right screen and not the wrong screen. The last time I did this,
Adam, we're looking at your tax returns.
nice.
Better than Andrew's bank statements.
Andrew's bank statements. Yeah, I remember that one.
Never
All
went
right.
back.
So along the theme of respond, this is a feature that Ben Jones begged me for, that I internally called Firehose for a while. And now you guys get the benefit of it. So inside our settings, so if you go to the settings section and then PSA and email, we will be pushing an update here soon that enables this toggle button. And you can't read the text, probably, it's really tiny, but it says enabling this will email the individual underlying events that triggered the respond rule in addition to the standard respond events. Disabling it is just the standard. So effectively turning that on means that we will provide more detail inside the email that kicks off to you for respond. So Ben was nice enough to share this with me. He tested it already. And so this email looks just like every other respond email that you would have gotten if you were using respond via email, with this new section right here, which is that the events below caused the above instance of the respond rule to trigger. So a lot of times, what I had heard was, our techs get a thing that says respond triggered, and our people have to click the link, go into the platform, and do the assessment and the analysis of what caused it to trigger. And so the first thing that we did was put the triggered events inside of the PSA notes for the ticket that was created. We're now extending that to the email as well. So whether it's one event that triggered it, 2, 3, 4, 5, that will be included here in the email. So I think that will be well received by Ben. Hopefully other folks that utilize our email connector will benefit from there as well. One other feature that he's asked me to deliver on that I very well may is to actually include the actions as well. So right now it's saying, hey, do you want to manually approve it or automatically approve the actions? Well, what are the actions that I'm about to do? So I think that will be the next thing that we extend for the respond side of the house for emailing. Any questions on that before I move on to the next item?
Adam, you were saying this is how it's going to look in email. The same functionality happens when they're using a PSA conduit, not an email conduit. Is that correct?
Yeah, so in PSA, that was released probably 3 weeks ago. When we open up the initial ticket inside the PSA, we will now put the events that triggered it within the notes section of the PSA ticket. So that was released a while ago. This is just getting email up to par on the same functionality level.
So Adam, there's a question from Tobin in chat, but I don't think it's directly related to this. Maybe something. Tobin, is that just part and parcel that you're asking Adam, or is it related to what he's showing?
Oh yeah, it's not related to this. It was a question I've been dying to ask him, and I didn't want to forget it.
I'll
I
Go
can
ahead.
speak to that. We use a third-party IP address provider because we too have seen that the Microsoft IP data is unreliable. So in reading your question, you basically are saying, can you guys use an external provider to check IP addresses? And the answer is we are using an external IP address provider, but as you may or may not know about IP addresses, right? It's very kind of ephemeral, right? So one is going to determine something. So without looking at the IP address or knowing what it is, it's hard for me to tell you whether it's California or something that is not California. And IP address data tends to take a few weeks to change once that IP address is sold, let's say, to another provider of some sort. So the IP address information is slow to change, but if you could show it to us, we can actually update it internally in our records to make sure it's accurate based on your information.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Cool. I'm going to rip through the rest of this stuff here real quickly. The next item that is new is in the Unify section module here on the automation. This one's been needed to be coming for a while. We're now going to give you the ability to map all accounts over a confidence score to create shared devices automatically, rather than it just mapping a single device with a single account and then kind of ignoring from that point on. So you'll have the ability to do shared mapping as well as shared unmapping if an account drops below a confidence score on the Unify side. So that one is new.
Hey, Adam,
Yes.
question on that. What will it be the default setting that people can expect to see when they, will it be turned off or will it be just set to that first one right there?
That's a really good question. I wrote this feature like 6 months ago, and I just got it released. I'd have to go back and see what the default is. I believe if I did then what I would think I would do now, it would be to map all accounts over the confidence score.
Excellent.
And however, the default is for it to be off. So you're going to have to come in there and make a decision regardless.
Yeah, our team does that automatically, like when we onboard somebody, and I was just wondering if we would have to go through and change that setting.
Yeah,
So I agree. That's a
don't
great
know,
setting.
but the defaults that it seems obvious to me that I would have made it to where all accounts over a score was mapped, but I'm going to have to go back and confirm that that's the case. I would be interested to know if anybody disagrees on this call with that being the default setting. Crickets. Cool. All right. Then Rapido moving on. This was released a while ago, but the uptake on it has been so minimal. It surprised the crap out of me, honestly. We released Datto EDR probably a month and a half ago now. We have 2 partners out of our entire partner base who have connected to it. So just to remind you, you have the ability to connect Datto EDR. It is in beta right now, but it at this point appears to be stable, and we will be enhancing that integration as time goes on. The other one, and we talked about it in the middle of the call or in the very beginning of the call, is SentinelOne is now available in a beta mode, or actually will be on our next release, which is probably tomorrow or Monday. SentinelOne will be available in beta mode as well. Mike Garrett worked hard on that on our team. And I believe, and I can't remember which partner it was, and maybe you're on the call, but thank you for giving us access to your sandbox so that we can do the things that we do to make that one come to life.
So with the SentinelOne, what types of alerts are you going to get out of them? What are you passing through?
I knew somebody was going to ask me, and I was going to get that information before the call, and I neglected to do so. So
Adam, you could go to settings and alert severity filter for SentinelOne.
Yeah, I didn't know if that had already been mapped in there. Sometimes it's like the last thing we do, but let's see. Oh, here we are. Feel free to take a screenshot of that there.
So it's basically activity in the portal, nothing to do with, okay, got it.
I'm actually surprised that there isn't an alert item in here. So I'm going to circle back around to Michael Garrett and see if that's something we missed or if there was a reason why that was left out, because I think obviously the idea of monitoring what's happening in the product is good, but those alerts are going to be important as well.
Ron, I want to apologize for my managed SaaS alerts not connecting my data EDR, but I'll definitely talk to them.
Ben.
Good luck on that one.
Awesome.
But
The
it's good.
only other item, and I'll pass it back to Andrew after, is another small but I think important enhancement on the Unify front. And I was going to show you details here, but I don't need to. The way that we report the operating system from Microsoft events, we have always pulled the operating system out of the agent string, which unfortunately means that Windows, any version of Windows, often reported as Windows 10 from Microsoft over and over and over again, and it drove me nuts. We now, when we see a match between a Microsoft Entra device that has an ID that matches the event, we're going to pull the operating system from the actual Microsoft device into the event so that the operating system is accurate. And so that will be coming here soon as well. Enrique, I see a question.
So I'm helping Ben out with his tasks, and I do not see the connection for data RMM or EDR.
Yep. So because it's beta, and the way that we release every beta integration first is to have your account manager turn it on for you. So you need to email your account manager and say, I want that beta thing, yo.
Awesome.
And if you use those words, you get preferable treatment.
And if I say, I'll beta things, yo.
Yeah. That's all I got.
Good stuff. Really good stuff. All right. Any last questions for Adam or Amanda? All right. All right. So Chip, you get the headline. You get the win this week for the new social engineering. You sent me this, and I thought I read through this multiple times, and I thought it was too good not to share. And so feel free to chime in. This comes from Bleeping Computer. And the reason I think it's important is the novel ways in which, well, I'm using the headline, but really it is the new ways that threat actors continually look to evade security. And so in this particular way, what they're doing, and I have screenshots to see it, they're sending in a corrupt Word document, so a Word doc wouldn't get triggered as something malicious. In an email attachment, and when you see it right now, you'll see a few things that are really psychologically why somebody in mass, right? Not typically people on this call that are more in tune to what phishing looks like, but why the masses are falling for this. So first off, you have, and I put in the headline here, you have urgency. You have things like benefits and bonus, and it's from the HR department. So think about this email. It got through. It's talking about, and certainly, by the way, and I hope you all are going to do this as we lead into the new year when HR and this is like prime phishing season, right? Come the first of the year for new enrollments and healthcare and everything. This is the time of year and I think this is almost like the warm up for it, right? If you think about it, for this time of year. So what they're doing is they're, saying it's from the HR department. You can see there's a sense of urgency. You can see, your typical user would go, oh, wow, annual fourth quarter benefits. I probably should open this. Well, when they open it, it says to them, oh, wow, it's corrupt, but, we can fix this for you. Do you want us, do you want it to recover it? So the user goes ahead and says, sure, let me recover it. And if you think about it, user behavior and the human condition, I'll work backwards, right? They probably feel good, right? I recovered it, right? Your Joe user, right, gets a sense of really a dopamine, right? Oh, wow, I did a good thing. I recovered it. And look, oh, by the way, I see you smiling, right, Tina? Couldn't you see that? Like a hit of dopamine. Oh, it's my company's logo, right? Et cetera, et cetera. And really, if you think about it, what were they looking to do? At the end of the day, they were looking to get this into your email box. this QR code. That was the whole goal of this phishing email. It bypassed security because, again, a Word doc typically isn't going to fire. I'll show you the summation of it momentarily of what, why it doesn't, etc. And lo and behold, when you scan it, this looks, again, for your typical Joe user, completely normal, wouldn't it? Oh, it's my Microsoft login account. This is set up, obviously, to scrape credentials from their Microsoft login. And obviously, then the threat actor is in and doing all sorts of nefarious stuff. Obviously, this is critical for, again, this is like, to me, the perfect article to use for, your marketing, for companies not using SaaS alerts, or to use a lunch and learn. Because this is exactly right here is when SaaS alerts, right, Chip, would probably start to fire, right? If once they were in geolocation, something nefarious they're in, and this is when it's going to happen, right?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, this is going to be classic token theft from this moment forward, that they're going to get a device token that someone can turn around and use on a device to access into that account and start going through email. And, like usually if you've got Outlook on your phone, or you've logged into the browser version of it, now you got a straight up browser token, and away you go. There's a couple of things that stand out to me about this one, Andrew, which is, well, I send you stuff all the time, but this one really caught my eye. The first is that, I don't know anyone in the security industry that anticipated that this would be a tactic that hackers would use to intentionally send in a docx file that is broken, and that's how you slip it past the anti-malware and phishing detectors. And then, as you said, use that psychological engagement of, okay, this is broken. Do you want me, Word, to fix it for you? So now you feel like you're interacting with a trusted application because it's doing what you want it to do. It's really ingenious and, sort of, what's the right word? I mean, it's cleverly subversive in yet another way that we didn't think of. Back to Jim's, earlier comment, what's 2025 going to look like? More and more and more of novel stuff that we haven't seen before that we're going to have to be educating customers on as we move forward.
And you have to wonder, Chip, with prompt, again, how powerful LLMs are, and how, if you're really good at prompt engineering, probably they're asking, what would, act as a, this type of, security researcher and come up with this scenario. I mean, so I think AI is playing a part in this. But again, why I really wanted to get this to you as well, and thanks for getting this to me, Chip, is that, again, this is the time of year where your customers are going to be, I think, the most susceptible with benefits and enrollments and tax returns. I mean, if we look at what we've, Chip, the TTPs, the social engineering TTPs of 2024 that we've shared, so many of them have focused on, benefits, financial. Again, I would really strongly encourage you guys to put together some type of lunch and learns and marketing campaigns and really engage your customers and prospects this time of year to get them engaged. And so this is the summary of it, which really talks about, nothing new here other than a new way to evade detection. It remained undetected, by the way, through the majority of security solutions. AnyRun is this malware analysis organization. And lo and behold, not that we're shocked, they've been fairly successful. I mean, I could see it being, again, if you don't do what we do on a day in and day out basis, the average user is going to be very susceptible to this attack.
Yep.
And
it's a good season to hit your customers up with a newsletter, tell them not to open any phish mispresents.
I have a question. So this is token harvest. So whether you have MFA or not, they're going to get the token on here. So I'm wondering from a like a training perspective, just if you get an email that prompts you to log into Microsoft, don't. Is that
Well, certainly check it very closely. I mean, and part of the reason why this is so pernicious and has been so successful even before this particular variant is because we get lots of emails that ask you to log into Microsoft. It's not uncommon, and there's legitimate reasons for that. I mean, people are accustomed to doing it. That's why they get caught. This next level thing, it surprises me that some people wouldn't be wary that they have a document that's broken. Like, my reaction would not be the typical reaction I think that they're seeing. My reaction is, oh, this document is foobarred. There's no way I'm going to keep moving. I'm going to stop right there and confirm with the sender that this is something I want to be getting. But I don't think the general population of knowledge workers reacts to things that way. They're going to let the application fix it. And that carries them, as Andrew said, it is a little dopamine hit. Oh, wow, look at that. I didn't have to call IT and I just fixed the document. So they're going to move forward and keep rolling with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the really comes down to maybe we know there's a ton of these token harvest attacks are coming from QR codes. So I think the conversation maybe with your clients are, hey, are we going to put a mandatory policy in place that thou shall not, use QR codes to authenticate, right? And not that you can, keep it from happening, but I think, we know that this is becoming one of the top ways in which these attacks are happening.
I'm trying to think of something very simple to educate people on. So the QR codes one, like that ought to be a red flag.
Yeah.
It is,
and more power to you. If you can convince your customers to convince their users, don't ever just log into any 365 prompt that you randomly get. Like, unless you intentionally initiated it yourself, don't do it. That's, if you can convince people that I agree with you, that's the super simple mission, because it's going to change. This won't be the last time we see a new variant. It's going to keep modifying how they get people to take that next step. So you're right. The simple message is don't ever do it. Like, it's a hard no, don't cross the line. Unless you proactively initiated your own login, don't log in.
Under what circumstances? Because you said before there might be cases where you would, I don't know, if you're getting a document through maybe a group that you're not normally in or whatever, but when would you legitimately be prompted? Because I'm just wondering if you tell people just don't log in.
So I'll tell you,
but
a legitimate thing that happens to me, not daily, but certainly a couple times a week, is, we have timeouts set on our own use of both Office and Google Workspace products. And a lot of times I'll be looking at my screen first thing in the morning. I don't realize it's past the timeout. My screen has an email sitting there staring me in the face. I click on it and I'm immediately I'm pressed to re-authenticate. Happens to me all the time. Now, I initiated that, and I understand, because of my clear understanding of how our systems work. Oh, I timed out from yesterday. I got to log in again. But my screen is sitting there showing me, displaying that I've got an email. So I click on it. As soon as I click on it, the browser knows, that my token has expired, and I go to a login screen.
All right, thanks.
All right, and I put the URL. Of course, I'll send this as always to Amy. This to this whole presentation, Amy, for everybody. But I also put the URL in. Okay, one other thing I wanted to cover with you. This comes from a company called Vanta. I'll put in this is their state of trust report, and it's very, very easy to read, very straightforward, but it really made me start to think about, I thought this was great for MSPs in the sense of where the new frontier of revenue is, or a different way to approach revenue and a different way to have conversations, right? Instead of the threat-based conversations, think of it from really what your customers care about. Eric, I'll ask Eric Monroe. Eric, what do your customers care about? More about driving revenue, customer acquisition, their P&L, or cyber threats?
They just want to be operational. They don't want any road bumps or any roadblocks or bumps in the road to keep them from getting what they want to get accomplished.
No, totally get that. But I'm saying as an owner, your typical owner of a company, where is your focus? Revenue, new customers, customer sat, et cetera, reputation, or, oh, I want to focus on cyber risk.
No, it's, but we see our customers want revenue, right? And they get what it takes.
100%. So here's the point of this report that I'll walk you through. So if you think about your customers, they're probably like you, meaning true or false, Gary, Eric, or whoever wants to chime in, 75-80% of your revenue come from your big customers. Is that a fair statement, ballparkish?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So think about your clients' biggest customers, right? Let's say your clients' biggest customers are 40, 50, 250 million and bigger type companies, maybe $1 billion company. Well, this is what we call compliance rolling downstream. So the statistics are, and you probably seeing this, is that your customers, they're bigger customers, right? You've probably had the knock on the door. Hey, Eric, we got this security questionnaire from our client. Have you ever gotten that knock on the door? Huh?
Every week.
Every week. So we know that compliance regulation is starting to roll downstream. So what I'm saying is, why don't we look at the conversations with your customers and prospects around, hey, look, when we meet with companies, yes, we do the block and tackling. That's all critical around IT and security. But what we really want to take a look at is, what are the potential things that you're going to run into in the next 6, 12, 24 months with the companies that make up your largest revenue? And here's what we're seeing, right? We're seeing the companies that are prepared for the regulation and compliance requirements coming from their largest customers are the ones that continually are thriving and hold on to their business. The ones that aren't are behind. They're typically playing catch up. So this is what we're seeing, is that this statistic is continually increasing. And I will put the URL in there in a minute. But does that resonate with you guys and gals a little bit about maybe a different way to approach this? Questions or thoughts? Another way to think about this is, we're seeing that companies, right? How many, just quick, yes, you're hearing your customers talk about Copilot, AI, this, that, and the other, right? Well, we know that there's an increasing use of, AI looking at customer data. Well, spoiler alert, you need to, this is again a way to differentiate yourself from other MSPs. Hey, look, one of the things we're doing with our customers is we want to make sure that, the contracts that you've engaged with your largest customers, the privacy, the data requirements, the data handling, et cetera, breach notification, right, are in line with how, right, you're handling and processing data, right? Because what would it mean to you if you lost that biggest customer, right? So again, looking at and asking them and sharing with them that, looking at their privacy and their data handling requirements in their largest customers. One thing I did want to point out here, that this is my little spreadsheet here. I'll talk about it in a second. That the report talks about is, the ideal security budget based on IT spend. Well, it's really interesting to me. It's far too low, but I just went with their scenario, and their scenario is basically that, ideally this is what the % of security spend based on employee size should be. So what I did was I just said, okay, if you have a 50-user customer, your all-in seat price is $275. That means, you're only spending about $27.50 on security for that one customer. per month, which I feel is probably these days incredibly low based on the tools and alerts and things you're handling. But again, let's just go with it. So that means, basically, for an MRR deal of almost $14,000, you're spending, roughly 1,400 of it a month on security. The point I wanted to make is, instead of looking at an IT spend when you're talking to your customers, like, hey, this is the, when we look at IT budget to security spend, it should be this. I would think about it more of, again, what are their biggest clients? What are they worth? And, hey, look, you're only spending about $1,300 a month right now on security. Would it be worth an extra $500 to make sure that your $10 million contract doesn't walk out the door when you get that large security questionnaire and compliance and regulation from them? So again, just different way of looking at how a lot of these reports and spends are being, kind of outlaid in these reports. Another thing, this I thought was really interesting because it was dead on, and here's what I mean. This talks about the average number of apps that a company has. Well, I used MSPs. Think about the first one to 50 employees. What are the average number of applications MSPs are running these days? Right in line with that number. It's about anywhere between 40 and 60 apps in the stack MSPs have these days. So the data lined up, but this is another area where we know by and large, companies are not doing good due diligence on third-party vendor risk that they may have. And again, changing the conversation around, a micro security conversation to what are the applications that, again, if they go down, impact the largest percent of your revenue, and and what are you doing, and what have you done to look at, their how their security requirements are, how they handle your data, et cetera, et cetera. So questions so far on this report? Is this beneficial at all? One of the quotes in the report I thought that was really good, which again talks about security from a business perspective, and from this quote, and this is from a CISO, from a healthcare organization, that the intent of security doesn't need to be complex. It needs to scale with the business. It needs to be a business enabler. Again, coming at it from the business, not the boogeyman, the threats, the bad guys, the hackers, the bad stuff that's going to happen to you. Last few things I'll share with you. Again, why I think MSPs, the mid-market, is absolutely just ripe, and we're seeing it with MSPs that are attacking this market. Thrive was mentioned early on. It is where they are, they're literally targeting that's their main go-to-market. And it has to do with the amount of compliance and regulation that these companies are having to deal with. They just do not have the resources to keep up with it anymore. So these organizations, more than ever, they're caught in the middle. They're caught in the middle of shareholder return or profitability, which means downsizing, and at the same time, the increasing requirements from their biggest customers, the cascading downstream effect from regulation for them, and their own requirements and regulation, which means they're going to be looking for outsourcing to help them grow and scale without internal resources. One thing I just wanted to add here again is that you can see that operational maturity is directly correlative to security incidents. You can see organizations that have budgets in line and really take things seriously. How often they're doing assessments and how they're handling the security posture versus low maturity organizations from an operational perspective. Two last things. We've talked about this on the cyber call quite a bit, but just the impact of automation. how, you know, if I highly encourage you guys to start thinking about automation in your business, but also, again, as a differentiator in conversations with your customers. I think, again, we talk about this probably every week on the cyber call, that we feel automation, helping your clients with their automation, is probably going to be a larger TAM for MSPs than security was. So questions, comments, thoughts? Was that helpful, useful, or an absolute waste of time?
That was fantastic. Thank you.
So I want to re-summarize that whole segment, Andrew.
Sure.
I think it's become maybe not common, but a well-known practice for especially larger MSPs to have a virtual CISO. And I wonder if there's an opportunity that you just are walking through for people to convert that virtual CISO or add a second role as a virtual compliance officer. Because you look at that 11-week number that, you know, that firms are spending on compliance activity, it's not very efficient. Like, to hire a full-time equivalent for a mid-sized company for maintaining framework compliance, it seems to me that that doesn't lend it, that what it does do is it lends itself to an opportunity for MSPs to build that skill set in-house and rent it out to multiple customers.
Yep, 100%. And in fact, it's one of the Corey brings up a really good point here, by the way. But it's one of the key, by the way, one of the key business sessions, the main stage sessions, Chip, at Write a Boom this year, about building the CISO practices and compliance practices. And because, you know, between that, being able to go up market and leveraging automation, it is, like I said, it's to me the next frontier for mature MSPs to really you know, garner a differentiator, different conversations, business conversations, and you know, the next new frontier of revenue.
Yep, completely agree.
All right, I know we're at the top of the hour. Awesome seeing you all. Any wrapping comments, Chip, before we let everybody go?
No, we're a little over time. I was hoping to get an update out of Tina on her wonky situation from a couple of weeks back before the Thanksgiving breaks. But I was chatting with her on the side, and we can cover it next week.
Okay, look forward to it.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Andrew.
Bye, guys.
See you guys.
Bye.